This is McFly Angler.
And it starts now.
Well, hey McFly subscribers, so I am going to be tying this today. This is another just tying session. Being the Christmas time, I personally don't have a lot of time to make these really in-depth videos, so this is what I am doing. Just you are coming along and watching me tie, and this is what I'm tying. I call this a brush minnow because I tie it with a brush. Now, if you haven't seen me make brushes before, I do have a couple tutorials. I will link to those in the description section on how to make a brush. If you don't have a table to make a brush, you could always use a dubbing loop, and that would work the same. Okay, but basically what I did with this is I made a brush out of craft fur and also a little bit of flash, as you can see. Okay, and you can use any color you want. So these are really small, by the way, as you can see. I mean, compared to my hand, it is tiny. Okay, these are about 1.5 inches because I'm tying this for a customer. I am selling these, and the customer likes these really small. So that's because I guess what he goes for likes really, really small. So I cut a clump of craft fur here, and now we're going to tie in the tail. Whoops, didn't start the thread here. So for the hook, I'm using the SL. Sorry, got to get in gear here. The Gamakatsu SL12 short. Okay, and that's size 6. But they're very stout. They're very strong. He actually uses these for baby tarpon, and they like them like really small little flies for some reason where he's fishing. And then the thread, I'm going to show you that. It is, see, I'm bringing it over. It is Vivus 6/0 in black. Okay, that's what I'm using. You could use a little heavier if you want. I find this is strong enough, plenty strong enough. Okay, and it doesn't bulk everything up. All right, so I had cut the craft fur. So you want to pull out all the under fur. I'm going to do that off camera here, guys. Sorry, don't want to get it everywhere. All right, and then I just grab the back, and see how long this is. It's too much of a taper for me, so I pull out some of it. You can replace it or just kind of pull it out if you cut a thicker clump. Okay, and you find some more of those semi shorter or longer fibers, replace it. Place it. All right, so I do that usually 3 times. That gives a more kind of less of a long taper. Okay, you can actually taper it a little bit because I think that's, there we go. That looks a little more natural. And then for he likes them really short, so I generally a little bit longer than a hook shank coming out the back. Put that in, and then like that. Now I wet it to make this easier. So I make a couple really tight wraps right before that bend, so that way it's not angling down, it's just going straight. Okay, and then you can just kind of come up with tight wraps all the way up to the front. And some people have trouble with that, so they need to grab each time and kind of reposition. If you need to do that, that's fine. I just bring it up to the hook eye, and then I come in and cut it off at an angle. Clean that up. And don't worry if it's a little messy. All right, come back to where the tail is. And then we've got the brush. So because the brush doesn't have a wire piece sticking out, just pull off a little bit of the fiber. So that way you have something to tie in. We're going to tie in now. I'm not tying in on this side. Sorry, the camera's facing me. Usually I've got it the other direction. This is a little easier. but hopefully you understood that. You didn't see it being tied in, but it is tied in on the side. All right, so then we are brushing everything back. All right, so there's 2. I usually make 6 wraps with this. 3, as you can tell, they're semi-open spiral. 4. All right, so now after the 5th, see, I've reached the front, and I do one last wrap at the front here, pulling everything back to give just a little extra bulk right at the front. Okay, and then you capture it. Now you're going to capture a lot of fiber here. As you can see, I'm capturing a lot of fiber, so just let that hang. You want to brush that out a little. Sometimes you gotta come in with your bodkin, pull out any fibers that are really badly trapped. And there you go. It is not trapped anymore. So I make 2 wraps over it. I then pull everything rearward. Wet your fingers if you need to get that craft fur out of the eye. And then just kind of work the thread back up on top of that a little bit. And then come in with some clippers. You're not going to see that, sorry. Here we go. Clip that off. Push that down with your fingernail because that will cut your thread if that wire is sticking out. Pull everything back. Make a couple more wraps there to cover that wire. All right, 4 or 5 turn whip finish. And you don't have to worry about that whip finish being super strong because we are going to come back over with some resin. But first, I'm going to take a stiff toothbrush or anything. I mean, they make you can make your own like little Velcro brush if you want. That'll work. I just find a toothbrush works just fine. All right. Then I wet everything, pull it back. As you can see, it's got that little teardrop shape like a bait fish, and even more so once we add those eyes, it's gonna really kind of keep everything angled rearward. So as you guys know, you've seen me do eyes before. I get 2 ready on my hand. So I put a dab of super glue right up by the whip finish, okay, and then another dab on the other side right up by the whip finish. And again, I'm not putting very much, not much at all, because too much is going to goop everywhere. And you can just put your eye on, push it up right against, see if I can do this in the video, push it up right against the hook eye there. You want to make sure they're even, so a lot of times I will bring it out and look at it head on, so I'm trying to show it to you guys, but luckily this gives you a little time to work with it. This gel type super glue that I've got, it's not regular super glue, so that would have set already. That gives me some time, and then you can go ahead and just kind of make sure those are on nice and tight. Okay, once more to make sure. You don't want these to be uneven or it'll track funky when you're stripping it. And then we wait for that to dry. I'm going to pull everything rearward here. I've got a little bit of fiber sticking up. And you'll see why I'm trimming that. That just is going to get right in the way of the resin. Bring those fibers back, make sure they're out of the way. And now that should be dry enough. We're going to turn that up like that. And I'm using Solares Ultra Thin here. And we are going to add a drop in between the eyes. And that's going to stabilize the eyes. I get a little bit up over, but not into the eye. You don't want that into the eye. It looks like it might be, but it's not, I promise. So get that on there. In between, let it kind of soak into the, in between the eyes there. Hit it with your UV light. And now, a lot of times when it soaks in, it creates like a hard like line there. So then I just kind of bulge this up a little bit more to create more of a profile. One last little dab. Use a bodkin to kind of move that around a little bit. Once I'm happy with the shape, I hit it once more. And then we're going to angle this downward. We're going to go underneath. See the gap in between? So that's where we're putting it. Kind of wiggle the fiber a little bit to make sure it gets soaked in underneath. Hit that with the UV light. I'm gonna build up that profile a little bit more there. Grab a different bodkin here. Yep. There we go, and you could fish it like that. Heck, you could fish it without the UV resin if you really wanted, but I find that this is way more durable because that kind of, you know, keeps those from bending, so it really kind of holds it in. However, one last step I do, and that's with Solarez Ultra Thin, or they call it bone dry sometimes. And I just kind of cover the eyes completely all the way around like this, just encases everything in resin. And that, of course, don't get in the hook eye, but just the eyes, the craft eyes or whatever they're called, 3D eyes. And just kind of rotate that while you hit it, and you want to bring that light a little further back because that'll make it cure a little more even. And then you can bring it close. There we go. That is done. That is in case those eyes aren't coming off. I mean, it's possible. Obviously, tarpon are pretty strong fish. I'm sure they can come off, but those stay on, I hear, a fair amount, even with tarpon for him. So it's relatively easy, quick fly. Once you make these brushes, which take about, I don't know, they take me about 5 minutes to make a whole brush, but at least with that table I've got, which is by Oasis Benches, I love that brush table. These are about 18 inches, and so they can tie about, I don't know, 8 to 9 of these flies. And so, you know, as you can see, they're really quick flies to tie. You could tie these a little longer if you wanted, a little larger, make the fiber on this a little bit longer as well. I actually shortened it up quite a bit. And you could tie, you know, basically, I call it a brush fly. So tie in a tail, any kind of tail, use a feather if you want, whatever you want. And then just wrap the brush, throw on some eyes, and you're good to go. It's a pretty simple pattern. You can use it for bass. You can use it, you know, it's versatile, so you can make them big, small, any color you want. If you tie it with craft fur, I mean, these come in wide range of colors. This is black, which is what my customer wanted. And if you guys, you know what, if you guys watch the channel a lot, you've seen me do with my patrons a video. It's Ryan. He's from Florida. He does a lot of fishing out there in Florida and catches tarpon. He's the one that fishes with these, so he's the one that made the order. But yeah, he catches tons of fish, lots of tarpon on this, and like I said, they're really versatile. Any color you want, any size you want, and they're quick. So give it a try, guys, if you haven't already. So also check out my sponsor, Risen Fly. They make the scissors that I use. They also make some really good quality hooks. I wasn't using them today because I can't find any really, really small hooks that they make that are saltwater rated. They do have a couple that might work for it, but this profile is a little better for what I need. But all the hooks that they make are really, really good quality hooks. Absolutely some of the best hooks out there for the money. They're just great price. And they make rods, reels, a whole bunch of stuff. So great company. Go check them out. www.risenfly.com. like I said, already really good prices, but they are offering you all a discount on your first order. So if you haven't ordered with them, go there, load up your cart, type in McFly at checkout for 15% off additional on top of their good prices. So definitely check them out. Also, check out my Patreon if you haven't already. And if you want to place any orders, you can do so. The best way is to find me on Instagram or Facebook. Send me a private message there. If you don't have social media, you can get my email by going to my YouTube homepage. Click the About section, and under that, there's a little section to click that says, I think, Contact Me or View Email. And it'll get you my email. So anyway, I will see you guys in the next video. Now you go catch some fish.